I think each one of you have mentioned the need and the importance of following customer behaviour, addressing business need in the process of making a decision on your branch network. I'll ask to begin with Mr. Dean and Mr. Robertson, given that you both have branches in my constituency for the time being. How important do you think it is to follow the needs of customers in rural areas specifically, and how much, when you're considering the future of your branch network, stock would you place in the rurality, the distances they need to travel between market towns, and therefore the accessibility to any remaining branches you may have for a very large geographic area? So if I can start with Mr. Dean.
We take into account a number of data points when making the difficult decision to close any branch. That will include infrastructure, it'll include location and geographical distance to alternatives, to banking services. We take it incredibly seriously. The post office is just one alternative, but also the cash pods that we're launching to be able to offer deposit and withdrawal capability to our customers, and also being ingrained in the community, being present where our customers want us to be, is wholly important. But we also have one of the biggest sectors in Wales for us is agriculture. We have relationship managers and relationship directors out there speaking to farmers in the agricultural community, and partnering with the likes of NFU, the National Farmers Union, to make sure that actually we always have a good read on our customers and we're able to support them where they need it.
Thank you. Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, thanks. So supporting the rural communities is hugely important to us. It's a key part of what we do, similar to some of the assessments that we make around that. We're very proud of our mobile bank fleet, which helps us support rural communities. We cover 82 communities, separate communities across Wales, most of these in rural positions. And we visit 41 of those at least once a week, and another 41 of those at least once every 2 weeks. Stops range from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on demand within that local community. But to a point earlier, our Rural Protect strategy allows us to look at customers that are 30 minutes or more away from a banking touchpoint. And in that case, if they're 30 minutes or more away, we would make the decision not to proceed with any closure. So the rural part is very important. We also support the agricultural sector across Wales as well.
Okay, that's very interesting. Ms Lizelle and Mr Ravenhill, sadly you've both decided to close your remaining branches in Ceredigion. I think you've both touched, as have your colleagues, customer behaviour. I'm just interested in terms of the process to decide on closing the branches. What consideration, if any, had been given to Saturday opening, for example? Because I'm told by some of the surveys that I've done in my constituency that a Saturday opening would be very popular because people increasingly during the week aren't able to pop out at lunchtime as they may have done in the past. These behaviours have changed. I'm just interested whether or not any consideration was given to a Saturday opening in some of these branches before the ultimate decision to close them. So if I can start with Mr Ravenhill.
Yeah, certainly, thank you. So, as I said earlier, I think I'm very thoughtful that it can be more difficult for customers in rural areas to visit our branches. So when we do our assessment of closure, as I said, we look at the transactions, the demographics, etc. If the branch wasn't already open on a Saturday, and I'd have to have a look specifically for Cardigan, the likelihood is that it had proved to be quiet previously, and therefore we'd followed customer behaviour to a point. And at some stage, you then make a decision around actually how better to use all of the facilities of the bank to support that area. And that's where, whether that be a community banker maybe going less regularly, but being a physical presence is still really important in terms of that. But I'd have to come back to you on Saturday, Ben.
Okay, thank you. Ms Lizelle.
Yeah, so again, very similar. We would look at the footfall for the particular branches, and then when we're looking at our banking services through our touch points, which I know that within your constituency, we would look in terms of what the facilities that we have available, if it's a library or a leisure centre, and then try to map in terms of how can we access the majority of that footfall at any given time. Of course, you've still got the option of doing telephony banking, again in the bilingual, and again we've got our vans, we've got 2 sustainable vans across the whole of Wales, which are reaching places where we've never even had branches before. So we're really getting out there.
But just to be clear then, there were no branches in Ceredigion that were open on Saturday. And actually, Mr Dean and Mr Robertson, I believe also neither of your branches either were open on a Saturday. And they are located in market towns which are busiest on a Saturday. Some of these town centres and town councils actually have Wi-Fi data to prove that they're busier on a Saturday. But moving very quickly on to the next question, when a branch is closed, clearly there are certain electorates within a constituency that are more dependent on that extra support. We've touched upon, I think a few of you have touched upon the elderly. One of the concerns that I've received from groups in Ceredigion is the way in which the actual digital apps aren't very accessible for those who are visually impaired. So if I can just very quickly ask you, do you know whether your digital banking apps or websites have the voiceover capability or indeed the zoom in capacity? Because I'm told for those who are visually impaired or blind, those functions are specifically useful and allow them to maintain the digital banking service. If I start this time, Mr Dean, and then we'll work our way down the panel.
So I'll need to come back to you with the specifics in terms of, because I think there was 4 different aspects in that question. But overall, in terms of how we're supporting the elderly, we've had a huge piece of work in terms of spending time not just trying to support through the digital means, but also spending time coaching, developing. We've given away 2,400 tablets to work with the elderly, which has also meant that there's situations they were unable to do previously that they now can, and it goes beyond banking in terms of that. But I'll come back on the specifics if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr O'Neill.
So in terms of the app, when it's designed, the designers actually look to make sure it's as inclusive as possible. The 2 things I'd call out in terms of supporting people with vulnerabilities, one would be the zoom in feature, yes. The second would be actually the app you can actually use signally, so actually convert the pages into British Sign Language to support people as well.
Again, very similar, and I'm happy to come back to the committee with the actual specifics because, like Mr Dean said, there's lots of characteristics there. I think there's some assumptions, though, that maybe we need to dispel, particularly about the elderly. We've published a report back in 2023, and when you think of contactless, for example, for the first time, the population between the 85 and 95-year-olds passed 80% on contactless for the first time, but we'll continue to support our elderly customers, and of course we have the British Sign Language on the online on our website and app as well, but I'll give you the specifics afterwards.
Thank you. So we support British Sign Language as well. I think we've got a full the range of vulnerabilities is vast. I think the last definition under FCA was 23 separate vulnerabilities. So we look to make all our touch points, including our app, as accessible as possible. So, and we take into account that broad range as well. So I think it'd be fair for me to come back to you in writing just with that whole range that we do support.
Thank you, Chair.